Hello and welcome to the Game Business Micro. This is for paid subscribers of the Game Business. That means you. Thank you for your support. There's an awful lot to get through this week. Netflix has announced a whole ton of new games. Sony has revealed some new games, but none of them for the PlayStation 5. We've got a new console, sort of, from Steam. And there's also been a new GDC survey. I mean, there's an awful lot to get through. Drama in the Epic and Google case as well. I'm just going to dive in. Otherwise, we'll never get through it all. Grab a cup of tea. Let's break some big stories. So the big one, well, maybe it's the big one. I think it's an interesting one. It's about Netflix. Netflix Games Reboot has entered its next stage, and it has been headlined by the return of Red Dead Redemption. Netflix relaunched its game strategy back in March. We sort of announced it was part of the GDC reveals. They were talking about how they were going to focus on becoming a trusted destination for kids. We've seen some activity in that space. They signed the Sesame Street license. They signed the World of Peppa Pig game, which has done very well. It's had 2 million downloads. They also announced they were going to do sort of social party games. And that was a big part of this reveal last week, which included Lego Party, Boggle Party, Party Crashers, Pictionary Game Night, and Tetris Time Warp. They also announced a party game based on the Knives Out IP, which is a movie series called Dead Man's Party, a Knives Out game. That's the other part of Netflix's strategies around licensed things. They've got Netflix Puzzled, which is a daily puzzle game, a new puzzle game every day. It ties in with Netflix shows, including the new Stranger Things series. It's an awful lot of cool stuff, but the big one's Red Dead Redemption. It's worth noting that Rockstar's GTA San Andreas game is the biggest, most popular game on Netflix's mobile store. It has over 50 million downloads. Red Dead Redemption 2 is called Red Dead Redemption. It's not Red Dead Redemption 2, it's Red Dead Redemption. Is a far more impressive looking game. It was released on Xbox 360. It includes the Undead Nightmare DLC. It comes out December 2nd. Really, really big deal for them. Netflix is up and down in its games, but we interviewed Netflix games boss Alan Tascan all the way back. One of our very first episodes, actually, back in March, April time. And we talked about how they were looking to create Wii-like experiences, basically party games for families to get around, use the phone as a controller. We're starting to see that really come to fruition. This is a really ambitious play here from Netflix, trying to sort of do something for the whole family. But expect big numbers behind Red Dead Redemption. And say, those party games aren't TV games, so just use your phone on the TV. So it does require a certain type of TV to run. It's quite significant because this is Netflix's strategy now coming to sort of fruition. We saw that play out last week. I'm going to stick with the mobile games world, although you could argue that all those Netflix games were mobile games. But I'm going to stick with it because there's been some development in the Epic Google case. Now, if you've been missing this, Epic versus Google is a case where Epic was challenging Google for its monopoly or perceived monopoly on the Google Play Store. You couldn't have third-party stores on there. You can't use other payment options. Now you can in the US anyway, because the court ruled in Epic's favor. Now, Epic and Google reached an agreement. It came out the other week that would see Google reduce the commissions it charges on certain things. So that included it would only take a 20% cut of in-app purchases, particularly around items that improve gameplay. So that's things like improves outcome, not improves gameplay, so helps players complete the games, progress faster, that kind of thing. Meanwhile, it would only be a 9% cut on content and cosmetic items. They also would allow third-party app stores on their system as well. It seemed like a big win for the mobile industry because this was going to be global. It wasn't just for the US market. But a US judge has poured a bit of cold water on this deal. According to Law 360, Judge Donato doesn't believe this constitutes a big enough change outside of the fact that, and this is to quote him, Epic and Google, two mortal enemies who pounded each other relentlessly in this courtroom for many years, are suddenly BFFs. He said that my concern here is that these proposed modifications are not providing an adequate remedy for Google's wrongdoing. It's interesting as well that he revealed that Epic and Google had initially requested that this deal be sealed, but he felt there was too much public interest and made it public. Obviously, the full details of the proposal aren't entirely available, but it's interesting to see how much concessions Epic made in its deal with Google. Of course, what we want to see is this to be a unified rule globally. It's not just for the US, and it'll make things a little bit cleaner. But at the moment, the judge is uncertain about it and actually wants more hearings to reach a conclusion on all of this. Certainly, wasn't positive comments out of the judge there. I'm going to sort of stick with mobile for my next story as well. And I think this is interesting. Guild Wars developer NCSoft is working on an MMORPG based on the Horizon franchise. That's PlayStation's Horizon franchise. Horizon Still Frontiers. The game is coming to mobile and PC, not to PlayStation 5. Sony also announced Ratchet & Clank Ranger Rumble. It's a new mobile game based on the popular PlayStation IP. It's developed by mobile studio OBB. It's a fast-paced multiplayer platform arena shooter, which I'm sure is everything Ratchet & Clank fans were looking for. In addition to this, and this isn't particularly Sony related, but it is Death Stranding, rather, the game from Kojima Productions. That's a PlayStation exclusive game. I mean, it's on PC as well. There's a TV series coming out for that on Disney Plus, being developed with Kojima Productions. This is quite interesting. This is Sony trying to expand out its IP onto other platforms, and that platforms includes TV and film, but as well as sort of PC and mobile with different types of propositions. They've been doing it quite a bit, actually, with the Horizon series. There was a game last year called Lego Horizon Adventures, which was released also on PC and Nintendo Switch. It was a Nintendo Switch first-party PlayStation game. You would have seen it. Now, PlayStation has been investing in mobile, but sort of unsuccessfully. It launched a mobile games division in 2022 and acquired the mobile developer Savage Game Studios, rebranded Savage Game Studios as Neon Koi, but closed it down in 2024 when it decided against publishing its title. But this is just Sony doing more things, expanding its IP away from the core PS5 products. It's not all about the console, but obviously when it comes to its big games, those are still very much PS5 focused. But it sort of speaks to the wider industry trend of content creators going outside of its outside of their core in order to try and reach new players. So lots of development going on there at PlayStation and Netflix, and obviously the Google Epic deal. So lots of drama and interesting developments in the mobile space, amongst other spaces. I'm going to move on to another little story here. This is GDC. It's done its latest US salary survey. It surveyed 562 game industry professionals to see how their salaries have grown and how layoffs have impacted the job market. The figures revealed that the average salary for the US game industry worker is around $142,000. That's now 60% said that was a slight increase on their 2024 salary. Around 80% of employed respondents said their current salary meets or exceeds their basic needs, which I guess is good. More than half of respondents said they feel undercompensated based on their role, experience, and market conditions, though. That's 53%. The number increased to 69% for contractors, consultants, and people working part-time, so they don't feel that they're being compensated fairly. 60% of women and non-binary people reported feeling undercompensated, compared to 50% of men. And 62% of non-white game professionals also felt undercompensated, compared with 50% who solely identify as white. 98% of respondents, this is the miserable one, miserable statistic. I mean, some of those other statistics aren't great either, but this is a particularly miserable one. 98% of respondents rate the game industry as less secure than other industries. 29% of them said they're unlikely to stay in video games, and while 21% are unsure. That's 50% of the respondents are either planning to leave or considering leaving. 64% of respondents said they support the unionization of game industry employees, with over half of respondents, 56%, saying they're interested in joining a union. The GDC salary survey results, they are out now. You can find them online. Obviously, it's not everybody, but it is an interesting sample there. Now, you probably couldn't have missed this last week on the video games industry news. We covered it as well on the Game Business Show on Thursday. Valve has shown off some new hardware. There's a new VR headset called the Steam Frame, which is akin to the Meta Quest. So you don't need a console to use it. There's a new Steam controller. But the big one is a new Steam machine designed to bring PC gaming into the living room. Steam machines aren't new. They exist. They launched in 2015, and Valve partnered with other manufacturers to make console-like PCs for the living room. They weren't very successful. I think the number's between 300,000 to 400,000 sales. I think on the lower end of that. They've since been discontinued. In 2018, they stopped doing them. This one is different. It's not being made by the manufacturers. It's being made by Valve. The technology's improved a lot. The usability has improved a lot. The PC market is also so much bigger. If you follow Matthew Ball on X, and you should do, he observed that gamers have $90 billion of Steam entitlements on the platform today. That was just a tenth of that back in 2015. What's interesting is that PlayStation and Xbox games, of course, are available on Steam, which means there is a living room device coming featuring first-party PlayStation games that isn't a PlayStation. This would directly compete with PS5, and it'd be easy. It's interesting to see if Sony alters its PC strategy to sort of deal with that. Would they stop releasing some of their single-player games on Steam as a result of this? I think it's unlikely that this device will be a huge competitor to PS5, mainly because it's only available via Steam's website, Valve's website, sorry. We're still waiting on a price point as well. If the price is quite high, I can't see it being too competitive. Digital Foundry says the device is more powerful than Xbox Series S, but below that of a PS5. So it could do well. I think it's probably targeting existing Steam users. That's not insignificant, but it's not a huge dent on PlayStation's business. I don't know if they would go to extremes of not putting their games on Steam, but hey, who knows with this sort of thing? They certainly got a lot of buzz when the device was announced. What didn't get quite so much of the buzz was any of the other announcements. Steam Frame, which is their VR headset, supports all Steam games and including non-VR titles. It doesn't need a PC to be used and has impressive streaming technology. I don't know if it's impressive. I've not played it myself, but I'm told it is impressive. Of course, the VR industry, it remains small. Valve has been supporting it. They released a big game in Half-Life Alyx. Meta, of course, have been supporting it, but it remains a niche industry. There are companies that make money out of VR games, but it is a very, very small part of the industry, despite all those years of hype. So anyway, that was quite significant, potentially. We'll see how that plays out. I'm a little bit intrigued. Another story related, a lot of these stories are related to some of the stuff we've covered this year, which is quite exciting, including, this is, as of recording this is our most popular YouTube video. It was an interview with Jagex we did about them changing their monetization mechanics. Well, they've decided to do it. Jagex is removing the unpopular treasure hunter monetization mechanic from RuneScape. After 12 years, it will be removed in January. It follows a series of experiments they held during the summer. The firm decided to put it to a vote. They asked all of their RuneScape fans if they would vote to remove Treasure Hunter. If it hit 100,000 votes, they were going to do it. It exceeded 120,000 votes. New CEO John Bellamy said to us back in September, we probably won't maintain the revenue that we currently are when we make these changes. That's the truth. But equally, if we're taking a 10 or 15 or 25 year view, some short-term pain is probably worth the restoration of the game. If we can get it to that point, it's worth noting that RuneScape, despite being their flagship title, isn't their most popular one. Their most popular one is old school RuneScape, which is based on a 2007 version of RuneScape. They're very strict with that game. If they make any updates to it, something like 70% of the audience have to agree for those updates. They also have a simplified monetization approach. And I think they're looking at that going, how can we bring some of old school RuneScape into the modern RuneScape and make it more popular? Interesting move, but I guess it's a brave move from them. But perhaps it needed it if they wanted to maintain the success of the core RuneScape product and not rely on a game which looks and plays like it's from 2007. But doing very well, old school RuneScape, very, very well indeed. I will conclude with a sales story. It's for the game Arc Raiders. Again, another popular story on our website where we interviewed Embark CEO Patrick Soderlund only last month. So Embark's extraction shooter Arc Raiders has sold 4 million units and become the most successful global launch ever for publisher Nexon. It achieved 700,000 concurrent players on Steam in its second week. It's really impressive. It's going up against Battlefield 6. It's going up against Call of Duty. Okay, it's not the exact same genre. It's an extraction shooter, but they are going head to head and in many ways and competing in that live service space. And it's done incredibly well. Embark has another game called The Finals. It released this a few years ago, and it's enjoying some real good growth. Its Season 8 update in September drove a 58% increase in revenue during Nexon's third quarter. So lots of success for Embark. Well done to the team there. Developer Embark told us in that interview, you should check it out if you haven't read it, that they've developed new tools and techniques in order to make games and content much, much faster. Their aim was to make games 100 times faster than before. Haven't quite got to that point yet, but they do say that they're doing it better than most other game companies. Embark only has around 300 employees, which sounds like a lot, but they aren't just making Arc Raiders. They're supporting the Finals. They're also making 2 other titles that are in development, and yet they're still managing to compete here with some really big players. So that's interesting to see if they can keep that up. Certainly a good start. It's a premium game, 4 million copies. Well done to the team there. It has had a bit of controversy. The firm uses AI voice generation, which is, if you read the Arc Raiders reviews, they've all been really, really, really positive generally. But there's one review from Eurogamer that awarded it 2 stars out of 5 for using the voice, that voice technology. And it's generated quite a lot of buzz and conversation amongst the industry. It's really interesting. We did talk about that on the Game Business Show on Thursday with Shams Georgiani. There's quite a lot of stories going on in video games. But that is all we have time for today. I'm at the 15-minute mark, so I'm going to stop. Thank you for joining us. I hope you had a nice cup of tea. We've got a busy week ahead of us. Tomorrow, There is an interview with Bandai Namco CEO Neo Udogawa. It's basically her first interview. She's done little like text interviews here and there. This is her first big interview. So do check that out on the show tomorrow. We'll be back on Thursday as we look into some of these shooter successes that we've had in our news and analysis show. And of course, we're back on Friday as well with our video game charts. If you missed the European charts last Friday, Football Manager 2026 has had a really strong launch despite quite negative Steam reviews. So do check out that story as well. That's me for today. Until next time, thank you for tuning in.